one of the big questions on what direction the Trump administration is meant to take, or what they're going to do in the coming, in the coming years, is are they going to deploy the military in order to conduct the mass deportations that they are interested in conducting? If I recall correctly, Trump's border czar has said that they will actually not need to deploy the military. He has instead recommended a doubling of the number of ICE agents, but not actually a full, like, martial law military deployment. It seems that rhetoric has changed, or at the very least, Donald Trump is off his rocker.
Donald Trump confirmed on Monday that he would use military forces to enact the largest deportation in American history. He said this on Truth Social in response to Tom Fitton saying that there were reports that he would use these military forces and that he would also declare a national emergency when he came into office. Trump replied, "True," in all caps, as is in Trump fashion, on Truth Social to that post. He's been saying that he wants to act on the border on day one, and he's even appointed a new position, border czar, and has put former ICE chief Tom Homan into that position. And Tom Homan has said that he would do anything to enact this mass deportation and that he...
Tom Fitton is an idiot, though? Of what relevance is that? Control yourself. We might actually be looking at a genuine, national emergency, absolutely. Martial law, maybe, but we need to be ready for that. Hello, Pritzker. How are you doing?
Say what?
He's declared a national emergency before.
I'm happy to take any questions from members of the media. I know it's raining out there, but we'll have time in here to do something. Craig.
I guess I'll ask another type of question. These new charges that you're installing here, another one, fast charging these, how quickly will this get?
So typically a vehicle will be able to get charged within 20 to 30 minutes. Yeah,
all right,
so
all right.
That's pretty
we don't
quick.
Need the whole
and
press
they're going to be thousands. Well, we're going to have them everywhere. So
and then use the military to do that. What would that mean here in Illinois? Could he use the Insurrection Act to call up the National Guard? And how would you respond to that?
We, of course, are deeply concerned about, the President of the United States calling out military inside the United States, where people are peaceful, even if there may be people who are undocumented. But the idea of calling out, the Army into the domestic confines of the United States seems uncalled for and may in fact be unconstitutional and illegal. We'll look into that. I honestly, he says a lot of things. You never know what he's telling the truth about. So we'll have to see.
He had talked about back in the George Floyd riots having governors, and you were well aware of that, call out the National Guard, help quell the violence. Senior advisor apparently talked him out of that. What is your hope as he, talks about this, about what may not actually happen?
Well, he does not have the ability to call out the National Guard inside the confines of the United States. The governors do. There are two different provisions of the act that authorizes the use of the National Guard, Title 10, Title 32, and he doesn't have, under either one of those, the ability to call the National Guard out, again, in the United States of America. He can, however, call out the National Guard to fight in foreign wars. And indeed has done that. We've sent many, many thousands of National Guard over just my term in office.
He literally did this before. He's done this exact same thing before. Trump tests presidential power, declares emergency at border. He did this right after the midterms. National emergency at the U.S.-Mexico border, moving to secure more money for his long-promised wall by exercise. He to bring the National Guard down there to build the wall, and it was purely just a virtue signal, but. Signed the declaration to justify diverting billions of federal dollars from military construction, other projects after Congress removed a fraction of the money. Yeah. SCOTUS has said he can take command of the National Guard anyway, so Pritzker is wrong. I don't know the details of that specifically, but I really don't think the SCOTUS is going to stop him. I think we need to, genuinely be prepared for martial law. Unironically, it's not even... you know, full on like military checkpoints in downtown, requisitioning empty buildings to use as way stations for arrests and deportations. And that's all he'll have to do this time, Hyperion. It's not good. I do like that in typical Trump fashion, we're getting confirmation on his intention to use the military to conduct deportations via an all caps Truth Social post of one word. That's very fitting. So the US is basically a parliamentary monarchy now. That was so incorrect and such a waste of my time to have read that I'm muting you for the rest of the day. It's neither a parliamentary system nor a monarchy. You're just typing things. Trump and Miller have described plans to federalize state National Guard personnel, deploy them for immigration enforcement, including sending troops from friendly Republican-governored states into neighboring states with governors who decline to participate. Yeah, that's the goal, right? If only the governors can mobilize them within the country, you just get the red states to do so. Media falling in line with fascism. In fair, like one of the most scathing indictments that you can offer of Joe Biden is that his favorite show was Morning Joe, hosted by Republicans who have at every moment kowtowed to the right. The only shit that Scarborough has been talking about since the election is how we need to move more to the right or something. Kamala Harris didn't talk about wokeness. She didn't talk about trans issues. She didn't talk about race. She didn't talk about gender. She didn't talk about anything. And still Joe Scarborough is like, oh, well, the problem is that like she lost because of woke or something. Well, no, he's the opposition. He always has been. She barely talked about abortion? No, she talked about abortion pretty often. Anything to distract viewers from focusing on class? Yeah. And not just focusing on class. I mean, he's borderline like paid opposition. So it's, you know, is Congress not a parliament? You know, you can Google parliament, right? People keep running into this issue in my chat. And I'm not entirely sure why. You can Google a term. I actually think that one of the biggest differences between people who respectfully are stupid, dumb pieces of shit and people like me is that if you have a question in your like day-to-day life, you should just look it up and then you know. You have the internet. It's like an incredible tool that no one uses. People walk around day-to-day having questions in their mind unresolved that they never actually get answers to, even though it would take literally 5 to 10 seconds to do so. Do we really not know the difference between our system and a parliamentary system? Do you see which way the election just went? No, I don't think the average American knows. It's not a question of a price tag. It's not really, we have no choice. When people have killed and murdered, when drug lords have destroyed countries, and now there's no going back to those countries because they're not staying there. They're going to go back to those countries because they're not staying here. There is no price tag. We're gonna bankrupt ourselves to the degree of like the Iraq War II. We are going to bankrupt ourselves, destroying our economy. Like not even in the same, like we are going to spend a lot of money in order to destroy our economy. It's not even like they're the same thing. Like we're getting the extra surcharge on there. We're paying a guy to destroy our economy. It's incredible. It won't bankrupt shit. America has a huge capacity to take on debt. It's going to create an economic boom, if anything. Lowland there, pardon me for taking the bait. How in God's name will spending trillions of dollars on military deployment to deport our workers create an economic boom? It's just deficit spending. Not all deficit spending is the same. You're not doing Keynesianism because you're spending the principles of Keynesian economics are not, if you're in an economic slump, burn money in a hole in the ground. If you're suffering from a recessive economic conditions, the best way to address that would simply be to spend a lot of money deporting your own workers. No, we're not in a recessive economic condition, even though half of Americans think so. It's not good deficit spending, but it's still going to boost the economy off the back of the Biden miracle. It's pretty bad, man. It really is. Oh, I like the comment section underneath the video as well. Trump confirms plans to use military to deport migrants. Not migrants. It's illegal immigrants. Yes! One of the main reasons why we voted for him. Do it, Donald. ASAP. Exactly what we voted for. 100% America approved. 100% approved. State of emergency. So what happens, what happens after martial law? Well, here's what I said. As I said before, they're going to start with highly publicized, very obvious deportations. In all likelihood, the feds are already tracking a number of crime groups that either contain a lot of undocumented immigrants or are made up entirely of them, or there are like police records on people who they are planning on arresting anyway, or outstanding, warrants. They're initially they are going to focus on going after people who are really obviously like kind of deserving of being deported, and they're going to tout these wins up a lot. Keep in mind that Biden and Obama both deported a lot of people, but for the most part, these are quiet procedural things. These are not like giant media victories. But I guarantee you, day one of the Trump administration, front page news every day, Donald Trump and his ICE deport dangerous Venezuelan migrant, that kind of deal. It's going to be like every day, constant headlines over and over. And for a while, it's going to be the easy, obvious ones, real public execution type stuff. It's going to be like the obvious ones. It's going to be like, oh, thank you, Trump, for freeing us. Thank you for saving us from this. And that might continue for a long time. But as time goes on, the deportations are going to start getting less publicized. They might even dry up. And as I posited before, I think a big part of the incentive for this, like the reason they're going for this, they're not actually going to deport 20 million people. It would destroy the country. What they might do is deport 1 million people and let the fear of imminent deportation allow businesses that employ undocumented workers to threaten them by threatening to turn them over to ICE. So rather than gutting our agricultural industry, our restaurants down by the border, whatever else, you keep the workers, but you keep them in a state of perpetual terror where they'll accept any set of conditions that you force on them, no matter how low the wages are, whether or not they're being raped or sexually abused or whatever else, because they are like 100% getting deported if they say anything. So yes, it's essentially just a way of recreating slavery. Sounds good. Thanks, Vosh. I give you like 50-50 on that being what happens. Either way, eventually the news on the deportations will quiet down a little bit because there's just only so many like visible criminal migrants, Has there been anything over the past 2 weeks you would genuinely consider to be a silver lining? Thun's appointment as Senate Majority Leader? Not much of a silver lining. So he gets to be evil and deport undocumented migrants without destroying the economy and staying popular. Well, great. We'll see. We'll see.
He would go to both the southern and the northern border in the first week of coming back into office. Trump has also said that he would use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which would allow him to deport more migrants through enacting war on them through Congress. However, him declaring a national emergency, as he said today, or the Alien Enemies Act could possibly run into legal hurdles.
I'm sure.
For the Alien Enemies Act, Congress would have to enact war first, and it hasn't been done in decades. Could lead to some legal problems there. And also for the national emergency, it's unclear which specific forces Trump could use from the military. The Posse Comitatus Act of 1878 limits the federal government from using the military to enforce domestic policy. So it's unclear if the Army could be used, if the Navy could be used, but the act does not prohibit the National Guard or the Coast Guard from being used. So
where the hell is the Tom Homan interview that I keep seeing these articles that I'm looking at? It was on Fox News. It was on Fox News today. Where the hell is it? Fox News Homan interview. Not from 6 days ago. It was done today. They haven't published it yet. Damn shame.
Trump could possibly try to use those forces as well.
For more stories like these.
No, thank you. I'd like less stories like these if it's at all possible. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Homan doubled down on Trump's deportation plans during a Fox News interview Monday, saying that Trump is committed to do whatever he can to get us the money we need to carry out their plans. Nice. We're going to take handcuffs off ICE. We will do the job and secure the country and protect the American communities and arrest the bad guys first. Yeah, they're even telling you what the plan is. That being said, Homan himself has still not referred to using the military. So
let's bring in Tom
here we
Homan,
go.
the
Thank
incoming
you.
Trump administration borders are. Tom, good to see you.
Hitler.
Last time you were here, you were not an official White House
welcome
person. I guess you won't really be until the 20th, but you're going down the road of formulating the plan. So a lot of people have wondered, how is this going to work? So how will it work?
Well, look, I think the president's been clear on the stage. As far as the deportation operation, we will prioritize public safety threats and national security threats because they're the biggest. They pose the biggest danger to the United States. He's got three rails. So we'll do the deportation operation with the priorities I just talked to you out of the gate. That'd be the priorities. Second thing is secure that border. Lock that border down and catch and release and secure the border. The third rail is we got over 300,000 missing children. Over 500,000 children have been trafficked into the United States. This administration released them to unvetted sponsors.
I haven't looked into this claim at all. I just assume that it's incorrect because they're saying it. I haven't, 500,000 missing children. What are you talking about? I don't know what he's referring to.
And they can't find 300,000 of them. And based on my 3.5 decades, some of these children are in forced labor. We already found some in forced labor. Some are in forced sex trafficking. Some are living with pedophiles. We need to save these children. So that's going to be the third rail.
But what do you do on January 20th at noon? Do you send ICE agents out across the country to sanctuary cities to pick people up? Or, how do you target this? Logistically, how does this operation unfold?
We already working on the plan. I'll be going down to Mar-a-Lago this week to put the final touches on the plan. But yeah, we're going to take the handcuffs off ICE. ICE knows who they're looking for. They just haven't been able to go arrest them because Secretary Mayorkas has told them, to tone down the arrest. He says you can't arrest anybody unless they've been convicted of a serious crime. We know right now, looking at the data from the Trump administration, the Biden administration, the removal of criminal aliens has decreased 74%. So we have
it comes from an ICE report, if I recall correctly, that says they were unable to contact 300,000 undocumented minors for court appearances. Wait, that's it? Just that they didn't show up for their court appearances? That's how is that any different from the millions of so-and-so people who didn't show up for their court appearances as adults? I can tell why they're selecting the language there, because then they can kind of frame it as a compassion thing.
Plenty of targets out there to arrest. ICE knows who they are. So yeah, we're going to take the handcuffs out of ICE. We're going to do the job, secure the country, protect the American communities, and arrest the bad guys first.
So this is going to be something that's pretty resource intensive. This is what
not even that. It's that they didn't show up or they haven't been told to appear. Okay. So it is completely fake then. Gotcha. Okay.
Wrote about it. Finding, detaining, and removing those people would be resource intensive, said John Sandwig, acting director of ICE from 2013 to 2014. Detention capacity alone would be a costly and immediate challenge. Lawmakers need to appropriate the funding, and even if they do, the administration will need to hire, vet, and train more officers. No easy feat. The new Congress takes over on January the 3rd. Will you be working with them in preparation for taking over the reins on the 20th?
We have to. Because we got to have the resources to do the job. So I've been asked 1,000 times, how many people can you remove the first year? Well, how many agents do I have? Can we bring rehired agents back, the ones that retired, bring them back and rehire them? How many buses do I have? How much money do I have for airplanes, right? Can DOD assist? Because DOD can take off our plate. So there's a lot of what ifs. I don't know what the current budget is right now.
Yeah, the reason why he's being so non-specific with this is because, again, I really do think the strategy here is to only use the omnipresent threat of mass deportation as a cudgel to incentivize the existing undocumented immigrants to essentially toe the line and be good little slaves, basically. Because they can't deport 20. It's not even logistically possible. It's just not. It's not going to happen. It'd be ridiculous for them to even try. But they can go after the easy, low-hanging fruit. The main concern I have right now is that I'm pretty confident that as time goes on, more and more liberals are going to side with these deportations. Or maybe not side with these deportations, but liberal media is going to cover the easy deportations from the beginning, the ones where they're going after the criminals and the gang members and so on. They're going to frame it as people are going to go oh, okay, well, I thought Trump was going to be going after mi abuela. But it seems like, in actuality, he's really going after the bad people. But in reality, it's the terror that they're trying to inspire. Yeah, Homan said it himself. He wants people to self-deport. They're really all in on the fear here. Tom Homan himself has already said, if you're undocumented in this country, then run. Don't wait for us to catch you. Save us the money and yourself the time and leave. Which is a ridiculous thing to say, because then they'd have to cross the border again, which is... Yeah,
I don't have insight on what currently ICE and CBP has for budget. How much money can be reprogrammed? I can tell you this, President Trump's committed to whatever he can to get us the money we need.
All right. So this is going to be part of a larger program. Ramping up deportations is one leg of the stool. Ending parole from people from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, the controversial CHNV program, rolling back the Mayorkas memo, deactivating the CBP-1 app, ramping up immigration diplomacy, also reinstating the Remain in Mexico. Illegal border crossings right now are about a little less than half of where they were at the peak. What's your target in terms of illegal immigration? I know you'd like to get to zero. That'll never happen.
Kind of amazing that Chapo Trap House predicted how resist libs will turn fash. They didn't come up with the term cut a liberal and a fascist bleeds, you know. We've been seeing this transition happen. I blame the Democrats for this largely, you know. To a large extent, Democrats failing to push back on anti-immigration rhetoric over the past 4 years has led to this vacuum where basically nobody's taking the affirmative position on immigration. Again, we've seen the Pew Research data on this. You take a look at polling, you ask people how they feel. Nobody in America right now is saying, yeah, we need more immigrants. It used to be, even during the Trump administration, basically every Democrat said that. But now, not anymore. Democrats gave up the talking points. They don't care.
Border crossings aren't really down that much, right? They created 2 buckets, the CHNV program, the CBP-1 app. It's the same population of illegal aliens, but they're throwing thousands through the CBP-1 app, calling it a legal pathway, which it's not. They're throwing thousands through the CHNV. So if you add the CHNV, the CBP-1 app, what the Border Patrol's still catching, they're still historic numbers. But we're going to shut these 2 programs down, and we're going to move these numbers even lower.
So what's your goal? Do you have a target?
Secure the border. Get back to what the Trump administration had the lowest illegal immigration in 45 years. Right. Illegal immigration down 90%.
I mean, your numbers in 2020, they were down 20,000 a month.
We're going to do better.
You're going to do better.
We're going to finish the job we started. President Trump had again unprecedented success. 45-year low, illegal immigration down 90%. We need to secure that border full. So
the share of illegal immigrants is about 1/5 in the United States. This is a share of illegal immigrants relative to the total number of immigrants in the United States. 50.6 million. That's the total number of what? People without citizenship who live in the United States, and of them, like 11 million. 11 million's like 3% of our total population. I don't really give a shit. I mean, all it means is that we should give them a path to documentation citizenship. If we just have overly punitive, I know like Trump supporters will never agree with this because they live in a fantasy land where like every single day, you know, MS-13 kills 50 million people or whatever. But in reality, like every metric we have on the criminality and workplace participation of undocumented immigrants points to them just flatly not being a damn issue. I'm not saying that every undocumented immigrant that enters our country is like a blessing that our country depends on or whatever. Like they should be documented. So make the documentation process easier. We're one of the only countries in the G7 that's still consistently growing. And part of that is because we have a population that's still growing. And that's because of immigration. We don't have replacement birth rate levels. And if you say, okay, well, let's raise replacement birth rate levels. All right. But just so you know, people born in the United States are more likely to commit violent crimes than undocumented immigrants are per capita. So if you want to increase our population via producing more babies, you're statistically speaking contributing to a greater trend of criminality than if we just let, you know, Alejandro and Jesus come up from the southern border. Don't know why you want so many damn murderers and school shooters and people listening to, I don't know, Slipknot in our country.
In addition to everything you mentioned, we got to continue building the wall. Wherever they built a wall works. Illegal immigration drop, illegal drug flow drop, and mostly it saves lives. Women and children can't get over that wall, so they're going to a place where it's not a wall. And what's waiting for them? The men and women of the Border Patrol who's going to take care of their medical needs first.
All right, well, we'll be watching closely to see how this all unfolds. Tom, good to see you. Thank you so much.
That's great. Yeah, I would probably get ready for martial law. Seems unlikely to me. It'd be so disruptive. But it's going to be a big deal. What are the odds you think that Trump's administration realizes deporting folks is too expensive and resorts to other means? If they actually do go for an attempt to, like, do mass deportations, like properly, the whole, whatever they say, 20 million, you're not going to see death camps. You might see a lot of people die due to like supply line shortages, not shortages, like they deliberately undercare for these people, disease, poor medical care. But I don't think that mass extermination, like deliberate extermination, is on the table. And the main reason for that is that eugenics and racial superiority were the core components of Nazi ideology. And they're just not of MAGA ideology. MAGA ideology is this like hideous blend of grifter American supremacy shit, but on the domestic level, you still have Donald Trump saying stuff like Hispanics love me, you know? We love Hispanic people, don't we, folks? And they love me. Hispanics, I met a guy called Alejandro, and he said, "You're mi amigo." And I said, "I guess I am." You know, like there's too much. I mean, you can say it's phony, and it is, right? But there's too much American multicultural liberalism has bled into like every element of this country's political discourse, including our fascism.